morning. I hope you're all doing well. On my way to work on this fine, cold morning. Sun's starting to peek over the mountains in the distance. I don't know how well you can see that. But yeah, anyway, I wanted to go on a bit of a rant about black pill and red pill, but mostly black pill. So, I actually bought into black pill a while ago for a short time. It wasn't very long, but I bought into it for a while. I was consuming a lot of that content, but very quickly I realized that it's just a completely flawed view of the world, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant and explain why. But first of all, I guess I'll start with my own experience with relationships, dating, modern women, and all of that. So yeah, my experience, I have very limited experience. I've only ever been on one successful date in my life, and that was back in 2020. And yeah, I've had a few experiences that didn't go very well, and yeah, the last experience I had in the dating game was back in 2021, where I got rejected. And yeah, man, after that I just turned really angry and bitter, and I was just like, well, this is just not going to work. I'm not going to bother with this anymore. It's just, I don't understand it. It's just, blah blah blah, all of that. So I basically gave up at that point, and I was like, well, then I'm just not going to bother. I guess I'm just doomed to be alone and all of that. So yeah, and I was trying to find answers why. I was trying to, of course, look online on different forums and look on, watch some YouTube videos, all of that, just to see if other people have similar experiences. Because at that time I knew nothing about red pill, black pill, and all of that. So of course I stumbled upon that sort of content. And when I first saw it, it actually seemed very, very appealing to me. It really did. Based on those prior experiences I had, it seemed very, very appealing. And I think there's a reason why this sort of content and these sort of ideologies seem very appealing, because it's not just about black pill and red pill at the end of the day. It's about any ideology that essentially forces you into black and white thinking, and that's exactly what black pill and red pill does. It forces black and white thinking upon you, this dualist black and white view of the world. So you can take black pill and red pill. You can even take modern day wokeism, feminism, and it does basically the exact same thing, where it basically has this dualist black and white view of the world. And I would honestly say wokeism / feminism, and as well as black pill and red pill, they're basically two sides of the same coin, and they're both extremely flawed ideologies. On one side, with feminism, you have women that basically blame all men for all their problems, and then on the other side you have a group of men that blame all women for their problems. So it's this groupthink, monochromatic black and white view of the world. And man, look at this, there is some heavy fog we're going into now. Alright, well, let's drive a bit slowly and see how we go. Anyway, alright, it's not that bad. Yeah, anyway, getting back to it, don't get too distracted. I've got some good things to talk about here. So, the fundamental problem with these ideologies is, first of all, black and white thinking. And the second problem is it keeps you trapped in this victim mentality. And that's especially so with feminism. It's especially so with black pill. It keeps you stuck in a victim mentality, because essentially, let's say with black pill, you have a group of men that basically blame all women for their problems, and essentially it keeps you stuck in a victim mentality, because you're basically through conflation, where they basically conflate the whole problem, because they do identify a problem. It's clear that I think we can all agree there's big problems with modern relationships and dating. There's big problems. We can all agree with that. So they're essentially trying to solve that problem, right? Find some answers, find some solutions. Yeah, right? But the problem is, they basically, just say, all right, well, it's all modern. The problem is the nature of women. It's modern women. That's the problem here. So basically, through conflation, they basically conflate that, it's all modern women. And that keeps you stuck in a victim mentality as a man, and that's really a terrible place to be, believe me. Because essentially by doing that, you give your power away. You're blaming something outside of yourself, something that you can't control. Because you can't control the behavior of, all women. You can't. And by focusing on something that you can't control, you give your power away, and it really keeps you stuck in a victim mentality. And as a man, that's not something you want. It's not very masculine, is it? To be stuck in a victim mentality where you're like, oh, I'm powerless. No. We gotta remember, guys, we want to be warriors, not victims. A victim always just blames others for their problems. A victim just doesn't want to take responsibility, doesn't want to take any appropriate action towards what they truly desire. Whereas a warrior takes full, complete responsibility for every moment of their life. They work hard, they don't complain, and they take whatever action necessary to win. They continue fighting and they never give up. So we want to be warriors, not victims. We've got to remember that. So those are the fundamental problems with black pill and red pill. It keeps you stuck in black and white thinking, and it traps you in a victim mentality. And I was stuck in that as well, because that's part of the reason why it was attractive. Because it was quite attractive. It really was, based on my prior experience, where I was like, oh, so the problem is modern women. The problem is the nature of women. I can just be a helpless victim here. I don't have to actually take any action and do anything. Whereas the harsh truth is, no one's coming to save you. No one. No one is coming to save you. The only person who can save you is yourself. Yeah, we can get help from others. We can become inspired by others. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. That's really great. But at the end of the day, the only person who can help you is yourself. We must do the work. We must all take appropriate action and do the work ourselves. We can't wait for someone else to do it for us. And that's the problem with victimhood. You just constantly just complain and you point fingers at other people, but you don't actually take any action towards fixing your own life. And there's nothing wrong with wanting help. We all need help at certain points in our life. There's nothing wrong. As a man, even as a man, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. There really isn't. There really isn't. There's nothing wrong with it. Anyway, I'm ranting basically at this point, but that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. And the last thing I wanted to finish on is that this is largely a Western problem, right? I mean, this whole trend with black pill, red pill, and all of that, it's a trend that started in the USA. Now, I have no offense towards any Americans watching. I know there's going to be some of you, but most of these societal problems, these trends, feminism, all of that, these social issues, all of that, they tend to be trends that start in the USA, then they spread to other Anglosphere countries like the UK, Australia. Because Australia, this whole thing is basically the exact same as the US. It's basically just a cesspool, pretty much. It's terrible. And then from there, it spreads to other Western countries. But you need to understand that having a black and white view of the world is just not accurate. It's not how the world works. The world is a much more complex and beautiful place. There's so many different places to go. There's so many different cultures, and this whole ideology of red pill and black pill, you can't take a whole portion of the population and paint them that way with this black and white thinking. You can't do that. You can't paint all women the same in terms of just painting them with a brush. The same way you can't paint all men a certain way. I will agree, there's biological differences between men and women. That's pretty clear. There's differences between the genders. That's clear, right? There's certain patterns that you can observe. You can observe them in nature with every species, including humans. That doesn't mean that there won't be exceptions to the rule. There will be, but at the end of the day, men and women are different. That's true, but there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. And there's so many different approaches to things, so many different views of the world out there. We all have our own experiences and our own view of the world. And there's so many different cultures out there as well. I mean, I myself, I'm of mixed background. I'm born and raised here in Australia, but I'm half Austrian and half Sri Lankan. So I've been exposed to different cultures my entire life, and I've traveled quite a bit for my age. And this whole, you can't paste the whole world this way. It's just not, dating and relationships, this whole thing is largely a Western problem. I'm not saying it's perfect everywhere else, it certainly isn't. But this whole thing is largely a Western problem. And if you travel a bit and broaden your horizons, expose yourself to different cultures, you'll realize that. And that's probably one of the main things that actually made me snap out of it, because I based on my own experience with traveling and being exposed to different cultures, I realized quite quickly that the world is much more complex than that. And the world truly is a beautiful place. We want to make, we don't want to make this into a hell for ourselves. We don't, and that's what these ideologies do. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Keep raising your standards, never stop fighting, and be a warrior, not a victim.